To another episode of Creating Madness Live. I'm your host, Ethan Carboni, alongside special guest and co-host Garrett from Iowa. How are you doing today, Garrett?
Oh, absolutely wonderful. College basketball is picking up, and I'm here for it.
Same. We got the first conference tournament, and what's today? The 17th, just 11 days. I'm hyped. Although it's the Northeastern Conference, it's not a power conference. You know what? College basketball is right underway. We're just over 3 weeks until Selection Sunday. And this is exactly where the season's going to heat up in these final 4 to 7 conference games that some of these teams have left.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys pushing to make the cut, get into the big dance. It's going to be really fun to watch. Duke's been amazing to watch this year. Iowa has been quietly more successful than I think a lot of people are giving them credit for. Me personally, being a fan of the team, I was kind of surprised at where I see them in some of the bracketology stuff coming out. So, yeah, it's heating up, ready to get hyped.
Yep. And before we get into the usual of the bracketology reviewing it, I have 2 miniature segments that we have today for us, and something that we touched on last week, me and Gerardo, remaking the first 4. John Rothstein has the idea of taking the 4 lowest non-auto bids and putting them in the first 4 instead of having the couple 11s, couple 12s, and then a couple 16s. I think that you get a much higher quality of basketball if you put all 11 seeds, all 12 seeds for the first 4. What's your thoughts on that? Like, just make sure.
I mean, that would include the go all 11 and 12 seeds. That would make the games better. But then you're making guys play an extra game that were higher seeded.
True.
Yeah, I don't. I'm kind of bad. I don't really know that. And with the NCAA, I mean, this isn't like the college football playoff where you're looking at obvious snubs every year. If you put 68 teams in, every team that gets in should probably be, you aren't going to miss any. So, I mean, it's an interesting idea, but I don't necessarily know that they need to mess with a formula that's been working. I mean, the Final Four is by far and away the most popular college championship there is.
For sure. I'm just thinking for the first 4, because we've already seen some of the best 12 seeds, 11 seeds. We see them upset, especially the 12-5 upsets. We're seeing a lot of them. I feel like if you potentially get those best 12 seeds out there and put them up against a better matchup for them, potentially, you could be seeing some potential more exciting first-round games as well as the more exciting first 4. You elevate the teams that rightfully won their conference instead of saying, hey, thank you for winning your conference. Thank you for competing. You got to win this game before you go get your butts kicked by Gonzaga, Arizona, Purdue, or whatever school's the number 1 seed.
So you'd be looking at, just at the bracketology, you'd be giving UNC Wilmington a chance to win a game and possibly play more competitively as opposed to just going out there and most likely getting their butts kicked by Arizona and just thanks for coming.
Like, instead of having Longwood, Norfolk State, Southern New Orleans, instead of having them play before, like, just losing to a 1 seed, I'd rather you just throw them into that 1 seed because there's no reason to force them to earn the right to play that 1 seed. They already earned the right to be in March Madness by winning their conference.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely see that. Then you just get a little bit more quality basketball even in the first round of the actual tournament, and then the first 4 is probably going to be a little bit more competitive games. Yeah, it makes sense to give these teams something to play for because, I mean, how many 16-1 upsets have there been?
1.
That's why I couldn't remember if it was 1 or 2. I knew it wasn't very many. So that's a pretty – I mean, yeah, Norfolk State is not going to beat Kentucky. Like that's
Well, right.
And Colgate could beat Gonzaga. I mean, you gotta love the toothpaste team.
Maybe. And moving into the, if you're ready, I want to move into the next segment because I think this might be a heavy hitter because you have probably 3 teams that are competing for that true number 1 seed, true first overall end of year before the March Madness. Who's the true best team in college basketball right now? Who's the number 1 overall seed in your eyes?
I like Illinois. And, I mean, you could make the argument with their recent loss that they don't belong there. But, I mean, I think in basketball, every team's going to have a loss. I have a weak spot in my heart for big men, and Kofi Cockburn has been absolutely ridiculous this year, averaging 21 points and 11 rebounds a game, just shooting 60% from the field, 64% from the line. I mean, this isn't like when Shaq was playing. It's a big guy. You just hack him instead of giving him the basket because he's probably going to get the points either way. So he's just been a force. They're dangerous on the perimeter. They have had some health issues, but if they can get the entire team healthy headed into the tournament, I'm not real sure who's going to stop them outside of, March Madness being March Madness.
See, I got to stick with the current 1 seed in Gonzaga just because they've been surprisingly good. And obviously, we knew they were going to be good. We knew they were going to just completely dominate. Their only losses are to a Duke team, which can on some nights be the best team in the country, on some nights look very wobbly. And then their other loss was to a team exactly like that in Alabama. Then once that Alabama loss happened in their 9th game of the year, they haven't lost a game since. Although they only do have 3 more games left before conference tournament season. Odds are they're not going to lose any of them, but you never know.
Yeah, and I mean Gonzaga is just tough with Drew Tim inside along. I'm going to space on the other guy's name.
Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, with those 2 guys inside, which if I remember correctly, it's been a while, but when we were talking preseason, I'm pretty sure we pegged those 2 guys to be big performers this year, which probably wasn't a hot take, but we still got it right. And yeah, they're very impressive. I like Illinois. I think they're coming out of a much tougher conference. I mean, the bracketology I've seen, most of them that I've seen have 8 Big Ten teams out of the 14 making the tournament, and that is by far the highest of any conference. So, and they played tough all year, and if they can come out of the Big Ten tournament healthy, I think they deserve the spot.
I'd love to see Illinois being a 1 seed. I just don't think it's possible unless they would have had to win out, and that Rutgers loss definitely is not what can happen. But
Rutgers is weird. Rutgers been beating everybody at home.
Very true. They're unbeatable at the rack.
I mean, they aren't really that good, and they can't win anywhere else, but they'll beat your ass if you come to their house.
Very true. But here's my thing for Gonzaga. You have 5 players that are averaging 10.5 or more points. And you have all 5 starters averaging 10.5 or more. I feel like that's not like all 5 starters averaging 10.5, 10.5, 10.6, 10.7. It's 2 10.5s, a 12.6, a 14.6, and a 17.6.
Yeah, no, I mean, they are definitely a high-scoring offense. I think they're going to see come to the tournament, though. They're going to see a lot tougher defense than they've dealt with throughout the year.
True, but if your starting 5's averaging 66 points by themselves, that's a pretty good sign.
Yep. Oh, definitely. No,
I think more points than we've seen Iowa put up some games. Same with Illinois. Same with a lot of teams this year that have been supposedly supposed to be better.
Yeah, very, very, very true. So, yeah, we'll have to see how it all shakes out. I think those are both very good teams that should be making deep runs as long as Illinois doesn't have to play Sister Mary Jean.
I hope so. But moving in to the bracketology, the meat and potatoes of every single one of these streams, Joe Lenardi's bracket. Top overall seed, just like mine, Gonzaga. First team out, Memphis. I love that. I've been hating on Penny Hardaway all year. Hopefully he can get his team around, but I like being right. So it's a win-win for me, whatever he does. Last team in for them is going to be the Oregon Ducks. Then on the bubble, the last four byes, Wake Forest, North Carolina, San Francisco, Oklahoma. Last four in, Iowa State, Creighton, BYU, Oregon. First four out, Memphis, Michigan, San Diego State, Florida. Next four out, Rutgers, Kansas State, Virginia Tech, and Belmont. Rutgers is going to have to they're going to have to win some more games if they want to make this tournament. And it might be tough for them, but I could see the Scarlet Knights being a 11 seed, which I would definitely pick against because they won't be at home. But
yeah, you have that. Seeing Michigan on that first four out is a little disheartening, especially as good as they were last year. But I would definitely see them trying to make a late season push, possibly even make a run at the tournament because it's going to be do or die type for them.
It really will be. And honestly, the more and more I think about it, I am really thinking that Michigan and Rutgers both end up in the tournament. Problem is, I'm not sure exactly how well they'll do, just because Juwan Howard had a perfect team built for him last year. And this year, it's coming into the year, I had them as my number one team in the Big Ten. Exiting the year, I'm not sure if I were to project preseason rankings for next year, I'm not sure if I can put Michigan in the top 5 for Big Ten as of right now.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. They definitely underperformed this year. But you also have Juwan Howard. I mean, he has a tendency to make his guys show up when it counts. And when you have a 68-team field, all you have to do is get into the dance, and then anything can happen.
Very true. And for the 68-team bracket, looking at the first four, we're going to look at the 16 seeds first, because I know how much you know about Longwood and Norfolk State. Just predict the game. I know you know nothing about these two teams. I know which team I would choose, but
I'm probably going to go Norfolk State. I did a little bit of work on them preseason, not a lot, but I mean, they aren't going to beat Kentucky. That is what it is, but I think they show up and make an appearance.
Yeah, I'd take Norfolk State too. Longwood's been falling this week. I believe they're coming off a tough game. So we'll see if this matchup were to happen. I'd take Norfolk. Then you got Southern New Orleans. I'll take Southern because why not? I'm not going to do a deep dive into a 16-16 game.
I'll take New Orleans just because New Orleans. I like Mardi Gras.
How Garrett fills out his bracket. Where do I want to go on vacation?
All right. No, not the whole bracket, just occasional games.
All right. Then you got Creighton and Oregon.
I'd almost lean Creighton here. Oregon's having a down year. I think the Pac-12 as a conference is just. My football bias is probably bleeding over, but I'm not. You tell me you're from the Pac-12, I'm not impressed.
You see, if you're Oregon, you have Ryan Hawkins and Alex O'Connell leading the pack. Then once you get to Oregon, it's Will Richardson, and then which role player is going to actually show up that night. Because really no one's going to know. Is if you're looking at it from the perspective of Oregon, looking at their past few games, you have a win last time against Washington State. That's a good win. But then you lost to Cal at home. When's the last time that Cal had a very relevant basketball team? Because I was
not aware they had a basketball team.
I thought they just had a chess team personally, but
they're pretty good at chess.
Yeah.
And hacky sack.
And then you got Iowa State and BYU. We both have Creighton in this one, but Iowa State, BYU. Does Alex Barcello's BYU Cougars take down the Iowa State team that was so hot in the beginning of the year and has just been falling down so much?
I gotta go with the homer pick and believe that Iowa State's going to find their magic back. I know a lot of places like in Michigan, you like hate Michigan and love Michigan State or vice versa, one or the other. Around here, I mean, I'll cheer for Iowa State as long as they aren't playing Iowa. I like to see them do well, and they got a solid team down there, but I don't know if they need to change the coach or what they need to do with their names, but the last couple of years, they've just had so much potential and have just shit the bed. So I don't really, but I have to believe in the boys down there will find something, at least win at least their first game, if not two at the dance.
Well, you see for Iowa State, they actually fired their coach last year, and then they have a new one this year, and then they bring in a transfer, Isaiah Brockington, who's been averaging 17 points a game. He's been playing very well, and it's really going to be, does Iowa State play consistent basketball against a team that will sometimes shoot 5 of 25 from 3? I'd take Iowa State with consistency over the BYU Cougars in this matchup. So far, for the games that really matter, I think we're gonna be taking the same ones. Moving into Gonzaga Colgate, there's no reason to talk about this. Sorry, Jeffrey Woodward.
Hey, never count out the toothpaste guys. You know, they made a splash. They made a splash last year. They might do it again this year.
I know. I've interviewed one of their players, Jeffrey Woodward. Shout out to him. He's been a great role player for them. Hopefully, I would love to see Gonzaga get upset in the first round because that would just make my year. But
I would love. And out of the 4 1-16 games, this is the only one I would even consider penciling in as an upset on a bracket.
You see, I make about 100 to 300 brackets a year, so.
Well, ones that count, I probably do like 4, and out of those 4, I might throw Colgate in winning on one.
All right, and then you moving in to the games that actually matter: Colorado State, Notre Dame.
Give me the Irish here. They've been coming on strong. I'm going by a little bit more feel than anything else here, but I like the Irish in this spot.
I mean, they're coming off a few nice wins. You beat Boston College, you beat Clemson, you beat Louisville, you beat NC State, you beat Miami. Your last loss was to Duke, but even before that, you were riding high with a 4-game win streak. You know, I'd love to take them, but at the same time, I got to take my boys with the Colorado State Rams. David Roddy, Isaiah Stevens, John Tanji have just been so good. Isaiah Stevens and David Roddy have been the most underrated duo in college basketball this year. I just don't see a way where Colorado State doesn't at least pull off one game, if not more, if they can eventually get themselves to a 7 seed or 6 seed. And then moving into the next game, we got Alabama and Chattanooga. This was the same matchup last week. I'm going to choose the same team, but I'm not sure if Garrett remembers what that was, so I'll let Garrett choose his.
I'll go Alabama on this one.
Any reasons?
Because it's Alabama. I mean, they're turned into a factory of good teams, and I mean, I haven't been following them closely, but if they're high enough to be at a 5 seed versus a 12 seed, Alabama's school just does not generally underperform.
Yeah, except this year where they've lost to Iona Davidson. This Alabama, they don't usually underperform when it's against good teams, and then when it's against bad teams, they choke. And Chattanooga is not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. Malachi Smith might be the best mid-major player, excluding Gonzaga. I'm going to probably take, just like the past few weeks, the Mocs of Chattanooga to upset Alabama. Then moving into
it'd be fun to see.
Yes, it would. 4:13, the Wisconsin Badgers against the South Dakota State Jackrabbits.
Give me the Jackrabbits. Wisconsin is an assembly line of big men that are going to go work for State Farm after college. Give me South Dakota State. And I'm kind of the Big Ten has a lot of good teams that beat up on each other all year. Illinois is going to have to overcome that, but you look at what happened to the Big Ten last year when they got to the tournament as a conference. As much as it pains me to say, there were a lot of these upsets where it was 4-12, 5-13, 6 versus 11 that the Big Ten was on the right side of and ended up losing. So give me South Dakota State here. Make some noise.
And South Dakota State does have 8 players that are scoring 6 or more points and 4 players that are scoring 10 or more. And then you're going up against a Wisconsin team that they have Johnny Davis, who has been absolutely incredible this year, as you and I both know as Big Ten fans. Johnny Davis has played like MVP of the Big Ten at points, and it's really going to come down to is Johnny Davis able to put up a consistent game, or is it going to be is it going to have to be the Brad Davidson, Tyler Wall, Steven Crowell show? Because I'm not really 100% sure if I'm going to be able to take South Dakota State over this team if Johnny Davis can have a monster game and drop 30-something points with Brad Davidson actually shooting efficiently.
Yeah, it's going to be a pace game. If Wisconsin can make South Dakota State play their game, then Wisconsin will come away with the win. But if South Dakota State can turn it into a fast-paced shootout where they got players all over the court that can score, then they could definitely hang with them and come away with the win.
All right, moving into LSU San Francisco. San Francisco has been very surprising this year. It's great to see them actually making the tournament because they have, when you're playing the West Coast Conference, it's a pain to make the tournament unless your name is BYU or Gonzaga.
Yeah, those are definitely the two favorites out of that conference every year. Unfortunately, I think San Francisco is going to be a one and done this year. I don't think they're going to be able to hang with the bigger school. They're kind of new to the game. Give them another couple years, and I'll probably be penciling them in for one of those upsets.
Yeah. And Jamari Bouya has been incredible for him, 18 points. It's just, if you're going up against Tari Eason, and who is probably the best defensive player in college basketball at this point, I'd take LSU just to barely scrape by the Dons of San Francisco.
Scrape by?
I'd probably have it with that game would be within 5 points.
That's closer than I would think. But yeah, I think LSU wins this one by like 10 to 15.
Then moving into the 3:14, Texas Tech, Montana State. Who are we going with?
This is a tough one. Montana State has been beating up on a lot of people, but you look at who they've been beating up on. I mean, like they beat SAGU AIC. I don't even know what that is. St. Thomas of Minnesota. I am literally 45 minutes away from Minnesota. I don't know who that is. And I just think Texas Tech is going to offer them a higher level of competition. I think they're definitely going to hang, but I'm going to have to roll with Texas Tech on this one.
For sure. I mean, it was early in the season, but they lost by 17 to South Dakota State. if you're losing by that much to South Dakota State, I know there might have been circumstances for that game, but still. Texas Tech is a better defensive team than South Dakota State. I wouldn't put it past Texas Tech to hold Montana State under 65 points in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be fair. You look over a lot of their scores, they're winning by 20 points. Or sorry, not 20, but they're winning by 5-10 points or more fairly consistently. But I think I'm just looking, there's one game that they were over 80. Sorry, 2 games that they were over 80. And one of those was the aforementioned Segu AIC, where they scored 124 points. So I don't think that's a real school.
And then, speaking of schools that have been almost not real, Marquette versus Murray State. Murray State, John Morant's old stomping grounds. And, well, they have a team that is better than the team that Ja was on. Can they beat Marquette?
Undefeated is... I mean, that's a team that knows how to win games and knows how to win when they're down. 24-2 overall, undefeated in conference. That's impressive. I'm gonna have to roll with Murray State here. I think they're... Whoa, am I getting my teams messed up again?
Maybe, but I mean,
no. I'm right. I'm gonna have to roll with Murray State here. They're hot. They've been hot from the start, and I mean, they aren't gonna slow down come tournament time.
For sure, I think I have the exact same thing as you. It's just a matter of if Justin Lewis can put Marquette over him, I could very well see that, as well as Daryl Morcell. I know that's a name you're very familiar with as an Iowa fan.
Mm-hmm.
If he's able to help play lockup defense and even hit a few threes, Marquette could win this game easily. It's just a matter of... I think Murray State has the more dominant offense. I'd rather take if I had to pick an upset, and only one upset this entire first round, Murray State would probably be that one.
Yeah, no, I like them to come out hot. It's just, if you're 24-2, you aren't just winning the games you're supposed to win. You're taking care of business. You're winning on the days that you don't feel good, the days that you've traveled too much, the day you're winning that third game of the week on the brutal stretch of the season. They know how to win games.
For sure. And then you got the 2:15 Duke versus Yale. I don't see a single... I could take the best players on every single Ivy League team over the past decade, and I'd take this Duke squad against them.
Well, give me Yale all day. This is going to be the upset.
All right, and Garrett Smith.
No, I'm just kidding. Give me Duke. Give me Duke.
All right. Then you got Kentucky versus Norfolk State. If Kentucky didn't win this game by 40 points with their backups in for the entire second half, I'd be disappointed.
I don't think they're going to win by 40. They'll probably just hang out, take it easy, and win by 25. By not trying hard.
All right. Then you got Seton Hall in Indiana.
This is tough. Just... I really want to say Indiana because I like the Big Ten, but I keep flashing back to last year where they had, what we put 10 teams into the tournament and 9 of them lost by the second round.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just something absolutely ridiculous like that. I don't know exactly what's going on in the Big Ten outside of Iowa. Iowa just ran into a team that couldn't miss, They could have shot every shot from half court and they would have made 80% of them the way they were shooting, is what happened to Iowa last year in the tournament. But that's besides the point. Outside, I don't know if it was just bad luck or what, but just makes me nervous looking at Big Ten teams going into the tournament this year. But I'm going to have to go Indiana. I think they can do it. And hopefully all these teams that lost early last year learn some lessons from it and will not let us down this year.
You see, this would be a game of having Alexis Yetna and Trace Jackson Davis going head to head. I'd take Trace Jackson Davis in that matchup personally. But then you have Seton Hall that actually has 3-point shooting with the likes of Jared Rhoden and Bryce Aiken. I feel like I just have to take Seton Hall just for the fact that we saw Indiana lose to Wisconsin because they couldn't hit a three to save their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see a reason.
That's fair.
I really can't see a reason. If Seton Hall's hitting the three, they're not losing to Indiana.
That's fair. Because, obviously if you can't make 3 pointers, you aren't going to win a game, especially at the dance. You got to be accurate from three. And if you are accurate from three, we can see what happened when Oregon State played Iowa last year, and you beat a team you shouldn't.
And then moving into a 5-12 game that I love, the best team in the Conference USA at the 12 seed in North Texas playing in-state. I'm not going to call them a rival because I'm not sure how much they play. Texas. Can the Longhorns beat the Eagles? I'm not even sure. I don't watch North Texas basketball. I watch a fair amount of
Big Green. Isn't it?
I think that's Marshall, but I'm not sure. I'll go check that out while you make your prediction.
Yeah. Oh, Mean Green. The Mean Green.
Yeah.
There we go. The Mean Green. I was like, I knew it was. I had like been next to their stadium and seen the name on the side. I had to think a minute.
And as we're recording, they're down a little bit in the first half, but whatever. They have 2 games. They just need to win one of these two. If they win tonight, then they claim ownership of the 1 seed for this USA tournament. And
I mean, 10-2 in conference, 18-4 overall, undefeated on the road, 10-game win streak, coming in hot. Give me North Texas. What's up, John? I'm talking to you. Give me North Texas.
So you got
Go ahead at me, bud. I made that pick just for you.
Tyler Perry in North Texas. Well, let's look at North Texas's losses. Buffalo. Team that wasn't the best this year, as good as we predicted. That's all right. They lost to Kansas by 12. That's all right. Lost by Miami by 6. Okay. Lost to UAB by 6. Okay. Those aren't bad losses by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, a loss by 12 to an in-conference rival is something that's...
This is North Texas. This is North Texas, not Texas.
I thought you said they lost by 12 to Birmingham.
Oh, yeah. No, they lost by 6 to Birmingham. They lost to 12 by Kansas.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Kansas. Sorry, never mind. Yep. My mistake there. But still, even so, a loss by 12 to Kansas is not a bad loss by any means. And you go back, I mean, we were talking about Rutgers earlier, how the win against Illinois because they can't lose at the rack. North Texas can't lose on the road, and that is more impressive going into the tournament because you have to play away. I like North Texas here. And I don't know how much of a rivalry game it will be, but you best believe the North Texas fans are going to be showing up and it will be a riot if North Texas beats Texas. It's going to be little brother beating big brother is what it's going to be, and it will be awesome.
See, these are 2 defensive teams. Texas being the best defensive team in the country, I'd have to pick them in this matchup, especially the way Timmy Allen's been playing, but it would be a good matchup. Although, Texas's standpoint, they don't have a terrible loss. They have Oklahoma State by 13. That's a bad loss, but you know what? They beat Kansas. I'd probably definitely have to take Texas in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean 3-6 on the road.
True, but on the road, that stat means not as much necessarily in March Madness because unless the game's in Chicago and you're Illinois for the Final Four, it doesn't unless you're that home team. Your crowd's not majority of the time. You're not going to have a stadium packed in your favor. That's going to be everyone rooting for a good game and for their bracket to win.
Yeah, but still, when you have 7 losses and 6 of them are road games, that scares me a little bit going into tournament time. If they had like 8 losses and they were 4-4 on the road, I would definitely lean more towards your point. But 7 losses and 6 of them on the road, it's looking like another Rutgers. They're great at home, and then you put them on the road, and
we'll see.
Yep,
Next game up.
That's the joy of this. We get to find out whether or not we were right.
Well, we'll find out if these teams actually play each other because North Texas doesn't make this tournament unless they win their conference tournament.
That's true.
So, all these teams, we're getting Houston, Vermont. Vermont's not making this tournament unless they win their conference.
Okay, I'll take Houston.
Really? Just because of that one saying?
But, I mean, Houston riding a 4 seed, Vermont looking like they might not even get into the tournament.
That's just me BSing. But
oh, okay. I thought you were serious that they had to win their
well,
conference.
They do have to win their conference tournament. That's the same for every single conference, unless you're Gonzaga. Unless you're Houston can lose out for the rest of the year, and they'll be in as a 6 or 7 seed or 8 seed. I'm not sure exactly how many games they have left. Vermont is coming off their only conference loss of the year by 1 point, and they still have 4 games left. So,
oh yeah, and they're at 13-1 in conference. UMBC is the closest one to them at 8-6. Okay, so yeah, they're going to be in.
Yeah, and then you got they should be in, but we'll see. And then you got Houston, who is being led by Kyler Edwards as Marcus Sasser sadly got injured and is going to be out for the rest of the year, as we've noted numerous times before. This Houston team riding a 2-game losing streak. I won't be surprised because they still have they still have 7 games left. I think they lose another 1 to 2 of them, 3 including conference. I think this team falls to a lower seed and wins that game. But I'd definitely take Houston over Vermont in this case.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vermont's one of those teams that's just catching a bad spot on the seeding. I mean, because you look at what they've done. I mean, they're 21-5 overall, 13-1 in the conference, 11-0 home, 8-4 away. So they must have a neutral loss. But I mean, their home away splits are good. They've been basically unstoppable in conference. And if you could put them at an 8 seed or a 9 seed, I'd like their game. I'd like their chances to get a first round win a lot better. But I don't think it's going to be enough to overcome Houston.
See, what I realized with the teams like Vermont that are incredible, you're going to have to win out your conference season. You're going to have to pull off 1 to 3 spectacular wins in non-conference and just upset a really good team or just win out against mid-tier Power 6 schools. It's a hard thing to do. And Vermont, I could see the argument up to an 11 seed, but the 8 or 9 seed is just too difficult for me to give them.
Well, but I'm just saying, not necessarily that they should be ranked there, but if they were, they'd have the opportunity to win at least 1, maybe 2 games. I mean, let's see. You got 8-9. So what's the 7-10 matchup on this bracket? Okay, so Vermont versus Miami. Like, who do you take there?
Miami.
You think so?
I think Miami's a decent team, but we'll get into them in a second.
Yeah. Well, and then the other one I was looking at if you put Vermont against Indiana.
That would be a fun matchup. I'd take Vermont in that one.
So, I mean, see, that's what I mean. You can look around here and just see if you bumped them up a couple seeds, they'd be in a, which I mean, I understand they'd have to do that, but there's matchups out there that, there's matchups just in their bracket that you would look at and be like, yeah, these guys could win it. And then, but that also comes back to like reseeding the whole thing, because obviously Cleveland State's not going to beat Purdue, but you don't want Kentucky playing Purdue in the first round either.
Right. And then moving into this section real quick, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Arkansas upset Auburn this past week or 2 weeks ago, however you want to say it. And then Oklahoma has been playing some very good basketball as of late, just narrowly losing to Texas. Who you got? Because I know, looking at Oklahoma, you have Tanner Groves, transfer from Eastern Washington, doing great things. And then for Arkansas, who else but the one and only J.D. Notae, who's been absolutely dominant. You still have a forward in Jalen Williams, who can run and gun on the break. This Arkansas team is looking more and more similar to a little bit lesser of last year's. I just think if they can get past the strong defense of Oklahoma, having the former Loyola Chicago coach, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but that's going to annoy me until I look it up. Who would you take in this matchup?
I think I'm going to have to lean Arkansas. Just looking at what they've done, I mean, they're 9-4 in a conference that includes Auburn and Kentucky, two of the definitely top tier teams this year. And they upset Auburn, so they definitely have the potential to where if you give them an opportunity, they can win a game. 14-2 at home, 4-3 away. I like the splits. So, and I don't see Oklahoma overcoming that.
I don't either. I gotta go with the Razorbacks here. Then moving into the best team in the Big East in Providence versus Liberty and the ASUN. The ASUN is like 3 teams competing. They're going to be anywhere from a 15 to a 14 seed. We'll see what happens. I think if Liberty were to play this, they'd still lose. I think any team from the ASUN plays Providence, they lose at least 97 out of 100 times.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one power ranking that had Providence in at 10. I mean, they're 20-2. They got a 2-game advantage over Villanova. They're probably going to win the conference 7 in a row since the Marquette lost.
Aside from that Villanova loss.
Yeah, well, there you go. And then, 6 of its top 7 scorers are seniors, so it's not a young team that's going to get into the dance and be overwhelmed. I mean, they got guys that have experience, have been playing this for a while. They're going to get in there and take care of business through at least the first 2 rounds.
Agreed. And then moving into the next matchup of Wyoming and Miami. Wyoming by a mile for me. I love the idea of Graham Ike and Hunter Moladano. I know I said Colorado State's duo was the most underrated. I think these two are in very close second. Wyoming has been incredible this year. And I think that in this side of the bracket, I would not be surprised if we saw this Wyoming team go relatively far. I could very well see this Wyoming team be this year's Cinderella.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Miami has 7 losses overall, so they've lost more games. Hey, Wyoming's sitting at 21-4, which is impressive. Undefeated at home, but also 8-3 on the road. I know I read more into splits than a lot of people do, and there's a little bit of a balance there, but it's important to show that you can win on the road. And if you have, it's not so much that you need to have a great road home split. I just think you need to have a decent one. If you have a terrible one, I think that bodes bad for you. But no, I agree with you. Wyoming, with their spot in the bracket, I mean, Purdue's going to be a challenge, but not impossible. But if they can get past Purdue, it's pretty wide open to get
Right?
to at least the 8.
Right. And like you said, Purdue should beat Cleveland State. I love Cleveland State, love the Horizon, but this isn't a game we need to look over.
Correct.
Because moving to Auburn Southern or Auburn New Orleans, also a game we don't need to look over for obvious reasons.
Yep.
Moving into the St. Mary's Loyola Chicago. Who do you got?
Give me Loyola. I love Sister Jean. That team always shows up at tournament time. If they have them seated within 2 of whoever they're playing, I will automatically take them, and I will take them even if they're bigger underdogs, depending on the matchup. But an 8 versus 9, give me Loyola all day.
100%. Lucas Williamson is an incredible player for him. I think he'd be able to lead them past that St. Mary's team. Both teams are very evenly scored, evenly matched up. I just think Loyola Chicago. I'd love to see Loyola upset Auburn, but you never know.
Oh man, that would be beautiful. That might make me happier than watching Colgate upset Gonzaga. Maybe it's a close talk. It probably would, because Auburn's an SEC team, and
yeah,
I won't say what I'm thinking because you run a pretty clean show, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Now you got Michigan State and Davidson. Can Davidson knock off Sparty Nation?
I want to lean no. And I keep having. I know I've mentioned it more times than I probably should, but you keep having flashbacks to last year with the Big Ten, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Just Michigan State is coming out of a much tougher conference, much higher quality of opponent overall. I like Davidson. I like the splits on them. It's another one of those schools that if they were ranked someplace else, like I was talking about with Vermont, they could probably win a game or two and make a splash if they don't catch Michigan State off the seeding. But I don't think they're going to get past Michigan State.
Yeah, I don't think they would either. I don't think Fletcher Lawyer would be able to necessarily knock off Michigan State, although realistically Michigan State not necessarily going to be a team that I have gone far this year. Moving into Villanova.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I mean, just glancing at the bracket, I'd be surprised if they win 2 games, depending on how the seeding shakes out.
Who would you have? Villanova, Toledo? I got Villanova. Love Toledo, love the MAC. It's just the MAC is so wide open. I don't think no matter whatever team you insert here can beat Villanova in a tournament setting.
Yeah, and this is where I mean, I feel like a broken record here, but you saw it with the Big Ten last year. You play a tough conference game, tough conference all year. It can lead to fatigue and injury problems, and teams just when it comes to tournament time. I mean, you look at the MAC, you got Ohio, Toledo, and Kent State with a 2-game spread between them. And Buffalo is right there as well, currently riding a 5-game win streak, making a push. it's just I think for a team like Toledo to get the upset in this spot, they'd have to come off a very, very clean conference season. And they don't have that. They've had to fight all year.
For sure. Then you got Xavier against SMU. SMU, a team that has upset a few teams this year. Could they do it to Xavier?
That'd be one I would be tempted to take. I also have a soft spot for SMU ever since the NCAA gave them a death penalty. So, but yeah, 18-6 overall, 6-4 on the road. I like that. I mean, it's a hump to climb, but I think I'm gonna lean SMU here.
See, I take
if that's the matchup.
I think Jack Nungy has just been incredible for Xavier. I think I'd have to take him. And Fremantle's having an off year. That's all right. He'll get him back next year. However, this Xavier team lives and dies by the 3. I take Xavier in this game, but I don't think I have a single Big East team getting past the Sweet 16 this year.
Well, and I know the thing that makes me nervous about this matchup, which I mean, I realize that you could argue that the Big East is a tougher conference than the AAC, but I personally think they're probably fairly even, if maybe not an edge to the AAC. And Xavier is 7-7 in the Big East. That makes me. I like SMU there.
Same here. Except I take Xavier barely eking it out.
Okay.
But UCLA, Seattle. UCLA should 100% win this.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to not take UCLA there.
Seattle's a great team. They're matched up poorly against a UCLA team. It would really be if they can hold UCLA to less than 20% shooting from 3 and less than 30% shooting from the field, they could win, which is possible. It's just a tough task.
Yeah, I don't really see that happening. And give me UCLA here.
All right. The battle of the 2 players keeping these 2 teams alive. Keegan Murray in Iowa and Alondes Williams and Wake Forest. Who do you got, Garrett?
Give me Iowa. Surprised you even asked me first. Everybody knew what I was going to say. But I called it at the end of last year. I called it preseason this year. Keegan Murray I said he was going to be a problem, and he has been a problem. He's obviously the leader of this team. We got Joe Toussaint, who, I mean, he's not putting up the stats, but he is just a slippery guy that makes things happen and makes opposing offensive plans break down. I'd love having him out there. He's just a scrappy guy. Bohannon, I mean, he is what he is. He hasn't been playing near what you would think, but he's having an off year, and he's 38% from three-point range. And it's an off year for him. So that guy is always dangerous. And I'll reference it again because even though I feel like a broken record, anybody that watched Oregon State, Iowa last year can saw what happened when a team gets hot from 3. They are unbeatable. So give me Iowa here over Wake Forest. I was going to drag him down in the dirt and beat him with experience.
I agree, and you explained it so perfectly that I just want to move right through Kansas Long Beach State. Kansas couldn't win this. I don't know what the hell's wrong with college basketball.
Yeah, no.
Moving into the final region, Arizona, UNC Wilmington. That's an obvious one. Moving through to the 8-9 of Boise State and TCU. Are we going with the Broncos here or the Horned Frogs?
That is a tough one. I mean, Boise State is sitting there fighting for the top of the Mountain West Conference. 10-3, 7-2 for the split, which is, I like that. Oh, what's Texas Tech at?
TCU, not Texas Tech.
Oh, sorry, TCU. That's right. You said Horned Frogs, and I'm not smart. And I also apparently can't type.
I mean,
basketball. Who do you have on this one?
I'd probably go Boise State. TCU has a plethora of scorers. It's just a matter of if I look at Boise State, I see one person that comes to my mind, and that's gonna be Abu Kigab. He's an all-around player, can play offense, defense, whatever they need him to. This is two evenly scoring teams. Anyone can take over at any point. I'll take Boise State here. I love the Mountain West. I'll take Boise State.
I'm actually going to go TCU here. Just looking at what they've done this year. I mean, they're 5-6 in conference and 16-7 overall. I like the home away split 9-4, 4-2. Are on a little bit of a losing streak, but I mean, if they can correct that, get some play. I mean, they don't have to necessarily win the Big 12 tournament, but at least show up and play well there and get things moving in a good direction. I'm going to stick with TCU here, coming out of a very tough conference. I mean, that the Big 12's been beating up on each other all year, looking like the Big 10.
And then you got Ohio State, Creighton. We both chose Creighton, I believe. Who do you have, the Buckeyes or the Blue Jays?
I'm going to go with Ohio State here. I don't see Creighton overcoming Ohio State. I think the talent gap is too big.
I 100% agree. I think Liddell is going to be able to dominate inside. I don't think Creighton has anyone that could hold Liddell to under 17 points. Give me the Buckeyes here by a decent margin as we move into Tennessee, Iona. Originally, I would have had this as an upset, but these past couple weeks with Iona losing a little bit, got me scared to pick them for tournament season. I'd take Tennessee red hot. I think that the Volunteers might be a team that we could see in the Final Four potentially.
Yeah, they definitely have the potential. I like the splits. They're 4-4 on the road, which, as I said earlier, I don't think a team needs to be great on the road. They just need to be decent, and 4-4 is a decent split for on the road. Taking care of business at home, 14-0. About like the previous game, I just think the talent level is going to be too much for Creighton to overcome in this one.
For sure.
Or sorry, Iona to overcome in this one. Creighton can't overcome Ohio State. Iona can't overcome Tennessee. And you're right. Yep. Tennessee definitely has the potential. I mean, they're probably going to need a little bit of help if they run, because running into Arizona is going to be a tough matchup for them. But I could definitely see them getting there.
You know, I'm going to have to go into this next one, which could be my favorite matchup. UConn, Iowa State. Can RJ Cole and Tyrese Martin get past Iowa State? What do you think here?
No, I'm taking Iowa State. Hometown pride.
All right, and you're right.
I know they've been, that team just has so much talent, and I know they have a new coach. I don't know if he was the right answer, what's going on, because obviously something's been going on there the last 3 years. But I mean, it's tournament time. You pull it together and you make things happen.
Yeah, I'd take UConn here just because I'm not going to get much of an explanation. I just want to dive right into the next one because it's my favorite team. Illinois and Wagner.
I didn't realize that was one we needed to discuss.
You know, Wagner's actually a really good team, and just with my luck of being an Illinois fan, Illinois would manage to lose it, but Illinois should win this. Moving into USC, North Carolina.
Hey, just real quick on the Illinois. I don't think you need to worry about Illinois because they don't have to play Loyola unless they both get to the Final Four. So you should be all right to make a run this year.
Yeah. And then you got USC, North Carolina. USC has been known by John and myself and probably at least half of the college basketball community. Played a weak schedule. They were looking incredible. Play a good team, and they flopped. They've bounced back a little bit, but this is a UNC team that they need to prove something to prove that they're worth it without Roy Williams. Who do you got?
I'm going to go North Carolina here. USC started off hot. They're currently sitting at 21-4, but like you referenced, they started off with a fairly weak schedule. Picked up some easy wins to start that stretch out. I'm going to go UNC here. Just more consistency. And 13-2, 5-3 for home away. Give me that team. They know how to play on the road.
I take the Trojans of USC here. I think having Isaiah Mobley with his tournament experience from last year, just that alone would be able to push him past the Caleb Love and Armando Bacot type train of UNC. And then, unless you want to talk about it, Baylor beats Texas State handily.
Baylor beats Texas State.
Yep. And then that's our show, but real quickly, conference breakdown. You have 7 teams from the Big 12, Big 10, Big East, 6 teams from the SEC, 5 teams from the ACC, 4 teams from the West Coast Conference, 4 teams from the Pac-12, 3 from the Mountain West, and 2 from the American.
I'd have to look. I wonder who are we missing from the guy I saw? Big 10, Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan State, Iowa, Indiana, Michigan.
Remember, they were first 4 out.
Oh, yep. So, yeah, the other bracketology I was looking at had Michigan as the 8th Big 10 team in there.
Yep.
Which could very well happen.
It very well could.
Mm-hmm.
And as we near the end of our show, Garrett, before I shout out Creating Madness, would you like to shout out your stuff?
You can find me at Garrett from Iowa on Twitter and the TikTok. And, that's where I'm at. All my stuff's there.
All right, make sure you guys follow at ATR Madness on Twitter. Check out Creating Madness on YouTube. Go subscribe. Thank you for everyone who tuned in on Colorcast or StreamYard or Twitter or wherever you're watching this. We'll see you guys next week or on Sunday when you watch this. See y'all.